Well, thanks for being along today. Another busy day traveling across northeast Iowa, and we just couldn't be more encouraged at the response that we continue to receive from people across the Hawkeye State. I'm more convinced than ever that change is coming at the White House, but also change is coming in the Republican Party. I think the more I talk to people here that will be participating in the upcoming Iowa caucus on January 15th, the more convinced I am that the people of Iowa are going to give us new leadership in the Republican Party. Leadership fitted to the times that will set us on a path toward victory in 24, and more importantly, that will put us on a path toward really restoring the security and the prosperity of the American people that has been literally decimated under the failed policies of the Biden administration. So with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Mr. Vice President, yesterday you told me that you were grateful Speaker McCarthy made it clear that if there was an impeachment inquiry, he would not do it unilaterally and he would submit it to a vote of Congress. So what's your reaction to him doing it unilaterally today?
Well, I want to respect Speaker McCarthy's authority and decision to be able to initiate an impeachment inquiry. The American people have a right to know whether or not President Biden or his family personally profited during his time serving as Vice President of the United States from corporations or individuals in foreign countries. So I would have preferred to see the House of Representatives proceed on the basis of a vote, but I defer rather to the leadership of the Speaker and of the House majority in initiating the impeachment inquiry. They'll be able to determine whether or not actually a vote on articles of impeachment is appropriate. But look, at the end of the day, the public has a right to know. And I will say this very emphatically, there's been too little attention paid by many in the national media to the ethical cloud hanging over this administration. But for the work that House Republicans have done, the American people would scarcely be aware of the allegations of multiple accounts and suggestions of literally millions of dollars flowing into the Biden's family. And it's important to note, I mean, I was Vice President of the United States, and the very idea that at a time that Vice President Biden was literally overseeing our policy in Eastern Europe and specific to Ukraine, that the members of his family were receiving board appointments and literally millions of dollars from foreign nationals. I think the American people deserve to know whether or not any improper behavior occurred, and so while I would have preferred that Speaker McCarthy and House Republicans take a vote on initiating an impeachment inquiry, I respect the authority and the right that they have. I defer to their judgment because I believe in the public's right to know.
There have been some who have suggested that this is a political move, right? And including some Republicans who have said they essentially want to make this into a political issue for the election next year. I guess, what's your reaction to that? Do you think this is politically motivated, or is there more to it?
Well, you have to understand that, you know, we went through 2.5 years of the Russia hoax during our administration. Until the Mueller investigation was completed, no collusion, no obstruction, case closed. And then I watched House Democrats and Nancy Pelosi bring articles of impeachment over a phone call by the President of the United States, and even move articles of impeachment after President Trump left office. So I think the American people understand that there's been politics played in the past with the impeachment process, but I really believe in this case that the American people have a right to know whether or not the sitting President of the United States and his family profited from foreign corporations and foreign nationals at a time he was serving as Vice President. Frankly, as I said, there's been so little attention paid in the national media to these issues and to the ethical cloud hanging over the Biden family. I welcome the effort by House Republicans to bring those facts forward to the American people and follow the facts where they lead. The initiation of an impeachment inquiry does not mean that articles of impeachment will be brought to the floor, but it does ensure that the American people will have more access to more information and get the facts that they deserve.
On that, under the Trump-Pence administration, the DOJ issued a ruling saying that FBI does not have to cooperate with an impeachment vote unless it was brought to the floor and was formally voted on. So now that there's not a formal vote, what's your reaction to knowing that this might be hampered by a ruling from the Trump-Pence DOJ?
Well, I would tell you that I'm not familiar with that particular memorandum by the Department of Justice, but I want to be clear. I would have preferred that Speaker McCarthy move forward with the vote on an impeachment inquiry, but I'm confident that he's using the authority he has as Speaker of the House to begin a process, to have committees to begin to examine these very serious allegations. The Speaker said today that he was aware of serious and credible evidence that warranted this investigation. And I'm just someone, if you know anything about my long career, I believe in the free flow of information. I believe in free and independent press and the public's right to know. And the American people have every right to know. And whether President Biden or his family profited from his position or leveraged his position while he was serving as Vice President of the United States. Yes, sir.
Thoughts on Minnesota's attempt to block former President Trump's name on the ballot?
Well, I've seen these various 14th Amendment moves, and I understand the historic basis of the 14th Amendment, adopted after the Civil War, and was intended to ensure that certain individuals that had been involved in the Civil War would not hold federal office. And it just seems to me to be one more stretch by people that are trying to, in effect, use the courts to take away from the American people the decision that I believe is best left to them. Look, no one's above the law, and the president's entitled to his day in court on these other matters that are moving through the judicial system. But I've made it clear. I had hoped that these matters pertaining to that fateful day in January 2021 were left to the American people, and I have no other view with regard to the 14th Amendment challenges. I think the American people know what happened that day. Many of you traveling along with us have heard how many people have expressed their appreciation for the stand that we took upholding my oath to the Constitution of the United States. I trust the American people to make the right choice in the Iowa caucus on January 15th, in the Republican primaries, and ultimately in the selection of a Republican nominee. And I truly do believe that we're going to have new leadership in our party, and I'm going to continue to work my heart out here across the Hawkeye State, answering every question, except whether or not I'm for the Hawkeyes or the Cyclones, but I'm prepared to answer every question to earn the right to be that standard bearer.
Let's do one more.
Vice President, another question on impeachment. I'm curious if you would like to see an impeachment inquiry into Mayorkas or Garland as well, or any other members of Biden's administration?
Well, look, the president takes an oath of office that is unique in one respect, and that is to see that the laws are faithfully executed. And to be honest with you, the Attorney General's decision to allow for a memorandum that described conservative Catholics as a potential threat to the country, targeting pro-life Americans, is deeply troubling to me. And the crisis at our southern border is unacceptable to the American people. But let me be clear, it doesn't so much represent a failure of his cabinet. This is a failure of President Joe Biden. And I'll leave to the Congress to determine whether or not they use impeachment authority against cabinet members, whether it be the Secretary of Homeland Security or the Attorney General. But ultimately, I think we need to make sure that Joe Biden is held responsible for the politicization that we've seen in the Justice Department and the crisis at a southern border that is entirely a result of the policies of this administration. The open border policies of the Biden administration have created the worst border crisis in American history. And if I'm President of the United States, we're going to put back into effect all the policies. We're going to finish the wall. We're going to secure the border. And then we're going to fix this broken immigration system once and for all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Thanks all.
Thank you.